year was 1941. A 18-year-old Dilip Chakravarty was the firebrand general secretary of the student union at the Guwahati Cotton College. The government organized a pro-war exhibition in the college. Students, led by Chakravarty, opposed it and demanded that classes continue. As the students met the principal to discuss this, Chakravarty was pushed to the ground by J.C. Das, a pro-British member of the governing body, causing him injuries. As the news of the assault spread like wildfire, other schools and colleges joined in the protest. British police responded with a lathi charge and tear gas. What had started as an assault of a student had now become a mass uprising. Education Minister Rohini Chaudhary resigned in protest, leaving the assembly which was in session in Shillong. Top Congress leaders, including Gopinath Bordoloi and Arun Kumar Chanda, came down to Guwahati to handle things, but it was too late. The student uprising had already gathered enough momentum to shake the corridors of power. Within the next 24 hours, Chief Minister Sir Syed Muhammad Shadullah resigned in the assembly.
Dilip is a dedicated soul, a socialist. Dilip is a political activist. Dilip is the foremost leader of the teachers' movement. Even in today's age, Dilip is an optimist and an idealist. Dilip did not join the rat race. He did not cash in on his political stature and get himself a fat paycheck. The family that is Dilip's is not led by patriarchy or autocracy, but by empathy. Dilip is fearless. He has never stepped back from owning the consequences of his beliefs and actions. Above all else, to find a human being as empathetic, as helpful, or as dedicated a friend is very difficult to find. I know from my personal experience that while we are not related by blood, Dilip is my brother, in fact, my soulmate, said Shotindranath Chakravarty.
In 1945, Professor Dilip Chakravarty joined Gurucharan College, Silchar. In 1947, as Secretary of the Kachhar District Sylhet Referendum Committee, he actively facilitated the relocation of Sylheti people. He also led delegations to Delhi, meeting with leaders like Nehru, Patel, and Relief and Rehabilitation Minister Mehir Chand Khanna.
Professor Chakravarty met Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in Kolkata. Taken aback by his directness, Pandit Nehru said, "Please do remember, you are talking to the first Prime Minister of India." Forever fearless in his truth, Professor Chakravarty responded, "Please consider that you are discussing with a free citizen of free India." May 1961. কাছাড়ে মানবতার চরম লাঞ্ছনায় নাদিরশাহী বর্বরতার রক্তাক্ত তাণ্ডবের প্রতিবাদে শোক সংহত বাংলার মৌন ধিক্কার। Professor Chakravarty led a silent procession throughout Calcutta with the last remains of the 11 martyrs who were killed by the police in Silchar.
In 1962, Professor Dilip Chakravarty was appointed as the secretary of the Chinese Aggression Resistance Committee. He travelled extensively across the country with Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa to boost the morale of soldiers and civilians. And despite his protests, Field Marshal insisted on referring to him as boss.
Professor Chakravarty never lost his sense of humor. Once, when Field Marshal Cariappa asked him to quit smoking, Professor Chakravarty replied, "Smoking keeps me punctual. I smoke one cigarette in 5 minutes. So if I have to go to a meeting in 15 minutes, all I will need to do is smoke 3 cigarettes. That way, I don't even need to have my watch." The Field Marshal, in his usual way, said, "Boss, what an excellent argument to cover the sin."
In 1971, the Pakistani army descended upon the people of erstwhile East Pakistan, and thus began one of the bloodiest battles for freedom. Even before India had announced its official support for the people of Bangladesh, Professor Chakravarty was already answering to the calls of Joy Bangla, helping the Mukti Bahini through informal channels. As the Indian stance became official and the army got involved, he founded the Calcutta University Bangladesh Sahayok Samiti. Under his leadership, efforts were underway to provide financial support to teachers, artists, and writers who had fled Pakistan without means of support. This organization also published bilingual books to rally public awareness about the atrocities committed by the Pakistani army in Bangladesh, and even mobilized global support by sending emissaries to multiple countries. Ask anyone from the Mukti Bahini, and you would hear that Professor Dilip Chakravarty did not just provide support to Mukti Yodhas, he was one himself. In recognition of his contribution, the Bangladesh government felicitated him with the posthumous honor of Friend of Liberation War Award in 2012, presented by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and President Zillur Rahman.
Even if educators were to erect a statue to Professor Dilip Chakravarty, it would not come close to repaying the debt they owe him, said Sir C.D. Deshmukh.
Professor Dilip Chakravarty's contribution to the teachers' movement in India are significant and multifaceted. He began his teaching career in Kolkata at Charu Chandra College and later at Umesh Chandra College. He made history as the first teacher to be elected as a member of both Senate and Syndicate at Calcutta University. As a dedicated leader, he served as secretary and then as president of West Bengal College and University Teachers Association, where he provided strong and able leadership to the teachers' movement.
Professor Chakravarty knew how to make his point. During his discussions, he told Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, "Just check any newspaper. The matrimonial ads look for doctors, engineers, officers, but they don't want teachers. When the society thinks like this, you will only see third-grade people becoming teachers. And these teachers, in turn, would produce third-grade doctors, engineers, officers, and in the near future, you'll be running a country of such third-grade doctors, engineers, and officers." The Prime Minister took this to heart and looked into the matter.
His efforts led to substantial benefits from the central government, dramatically enhancing the pay scale, status, and primary benefits of teachers. Furthermore, Professor Chakravarty played a pivotal role in establishing the All India Federation of University and College Teachers Association, serving as its General Secretary and President, thereby bolstering the teachers' movement on a national level.
Around 1972, the management of the Kamarpukur College suddenly decided to dismiss 14 of their teachers all at once. Professor Chakravarty was instrumental in forcing the hand of then West Bengal Chief Minister Mr. Siddhartha Shankar Roy, and finally, in a special session of the Vidhan Sabha, the government assumed control of the Kamarpukur College and the 14 teachers were reinstated. Professor Chakravarty, however, was not one to stop just there. He went on to get a new law, the College Teachers Service Security Act, passed, which was a historical move in offering dignity and security to thousands of teachers. At a time when Bengal was in the throes of unrest, Professor Dilip Chakravarty offered the Samiti the most able leadership. His capacity for being inclusive as a leader is truly noteworthy, said Shatya Sadhan Chakravarty.
আমি যে কথাটা বিশেষভাবে উল্লেখ করতে চাই, আমাদের এত ভাগাভাগির মধ্যেও, রাজনৈতিক দৃঢ়তার মধ্যেও, কলহ দৃঢ়তার মধ্যেও কলেজ ও বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় আন্দোলন এখন পর্যন্ত একটি ঐক্যবদ্ধ আন্দোলন। শিক্ষকরা একসঙ্গে আছেন, একসঙ্গে তারা চিন্তা ভাবনা করেন, তাদের কর্মসূচি গ্রহণ করেন, তাদের দাবি দাওয়া পেশ করেন, এবং এই যে তাদের একীভূত থেকে যাওয়া, তার মধ্যে দিলীপ চক্রবর্তীর একটা মস্ত বড় অবদান ছিল। একটা কেউ বাইরে চট করে কেউ এটা জানেন না, ওখানে ওদের নির্বাচন হয়, কারা প্রতিনিধিত্ব করবেন, কিন্তু প্রধানত দিলীপ বাবুর অনুপ্রেরণায় ওরা একটা বিশেষ নিয়ম প্রবর্তন করেন যে যারা জিতলেন তারা কর্মসূচিতে 18টি আসন পাবেন, যারা হেরে গেলেন তাদেরও সমান সম্মান জানিয়ে 6টি আসন তাদের জন্য নির্ধারণ করা হবে এবং এই 24 জন মিলে সামগ্রিকভাবে কলেজ এবং বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় সমিতি কর্মসূচি চালনা করবেন এবং এটা চলেছে গত 35 বছর ধরে এই ঐতিহ্য অব্যাহত আছে।
Whether at the Missouri Conference cum Convention in May 1966 or in the mass deputation of university and colleges teachers at Delhi in March 66 to the Education Minister Sri M.C. Chagla and the Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, or in the successive annual conference of the Federation, the luminous, cheerful, enthusiastic figure of Dilip Babu could not be missed by anybody. He was a pillar of strength for AI Fukto for nearly 8 years, said Hriday Narayan Singh.
प्रोफेसर थे, एमपी रहे, अपनी जिंदगी बसर कर सकते थे, मगर नहीं, अगर स्कूल कॉलेज में कोई लड़ाई हुई तो आराम से रहते, मगर वो आगे बढ़ के बढ़े, लोगों के साथ मुकाबला किया। This is the only shield for human rights.
Professor Dilip Chakravarty's dedicated contribution, pioneering in many ways in the cause of improvement of education and especially the service condition of teachers, will be long remembered. It is a pleasure for me and heartening to recall my many meetings with him, and I was deeply impressed by his sincerity of purpose and understanding of problems, and an earnest desire to appreciate the various points of view, even those differing from his views, said D.S. Kothari.
পশ্চিম বাংলার অনেক জায়গায় আমাদের সঙ্গে করেছিলেন। তারপরে তো জনতা পার্টিতে আমরা এক হয়ে গেলাম, কাজ করলাম এবং যখন আমার উপর দায়িত্ব এসে পড়ল ভারতবর্ষের শিক্ষা, সমাজ কল্যাণ, সংস্কৃতি 3টি বিভাগের কাজকর্ম চালানো, সেইগুলো দায়িত্বেও তিনি অনেক সময় সুপরামর্শ দিয়েছেন।
April 1975. The country was in the throes of political unrest. As the student movement, led by Jayaprakash Narayan, reached Kolkata, Professor Chakravarty convened a meeting at the Students' Hall in College Street, Kolkata. Just as the event drew to a close, goons from the opposing party attacked his car. Barely weeks later, a state of emergency was declared. As the emergency lifted and elections were announced, Janata Party was faced with the prospect of not having a candidate from Calcutta South constituency, with other leaders scared away by the physical violence and the intimidating circumstances during emergency. Once again, the fearless Professor Chakravarty chose to step up. As the date of the elections drew near, he was attacked himself, leaving him injured and hospitalized. Professor Chakravarty wasn't one to be scared. His hospital bed became his campaign headquarters, and not much later, he became a part of the 6th Lok Sabha with a landslide victory. The story of Professor Dilip Chakravarty would be incomplete without mentioning Anima Chakravarty, who was his partner in the truest sense. Daughter to the legendary leader in the trade union movement, Sri Shibnath Banerjee, she grew up in an environment of positive social action. She was not only Professor Chakravarty's wife, but his closest confidant and constant companion. Calm, yet fiery like a burning flame, soft-spoken, with a lifetime committed to social upliftment, she was the woman behind the achievements of Professor Chakravarty. Professor Dilip Chakravarty leaves behind a legacy of steadfast service, immovable resolve, and an incredible capacity for kindness. It is almost easy to forget that the person himself reached where he did despite unsurmountable odds. He lost his father before he was even born, and his mother when he was barely a few years old. Despite being a gold medalist and being pushed by his teachers towards lucrative offers of employment, he remained true to his principles and chose to be a teacher instead. He rose above his circumstances to achieve not only for himself, but a legacy that guides, that leads, that inspires.